Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about FamilySearch's AI Research Assistant, brand new program that's just been introduced back at Roots Tech. And these are the topics that we're going to cover. We'll talk a little bit about artificial intelligence and then how AI is a part of FamilySearch already, and then how how FamilySearch is moving into the 21st century with AI. We'll introduce this tool, AI Research Assistant, and we'll talk about the two products that are made up by this program, and then demonstrate the two and have a conclusion. So, introducing artificial intelligence. Some people really aren't really fully aware of what artificial intelligence means, so I pulled up this definition that artificial intelligence is a specialty within computer science that's concerned with creating systems that can replicate human intelligence and problem-solving abilities. They do this by taking in a myriad of data, processing it, and learning from their past in order to streamline and improve the future. A little history of AI, actually the thought or the concept goes all the way back to the time of Plato in ancient days, but for the AI that we're considering, probably the history would be more appropriate to say starts around in the early 1950s. Arthur Samuel, back in 1952, developed a program to play checkers. This is one of the first experiences of AI that worked, that people became aware of. In 1955, the actual term artificial intelligence was coined. And for the next 3 or 4 decades, AI developed mainly as a gaming tool and for translating and conversing in human language and expressing reasoning on a human level, those kind of things. And around 2012 is where we really begin to see, with the computer being so popular, the common use of AI tools as we know them today began to emerge. And really today it's everywhere. I challenge you to go through a day without AI touching your life. As a matter of fact, I would imagine you'd have trouble making it through an hour without running into something that has to do with AI. This is just a partial list of some of the ideas of things that are AI centered that we have on an everyday basis. Okay, AI and FamilySearch. FamilySearch has had a need for AI from the beginning because of the massive records, this myriad of data that FamilySearch has. They collected over 2.4 million rolls of film that got digitized. And of course, they're throwing in more new images every day from the filming crews that are out there currently. They now have over 6.5 billion record images, over 5,000 digital books in their collection. And in their tree that they have at FamilySearch, over 1.6 billion people. So when you have all this data to manipulate, you definitely need help beyond human hands. And this has become a serious problem, especially with the problem with indexing. Indexing just simply wasn't able to do the job that it was asked to do because they never expected the volume of new material that would be thrown out all the time. And so finally, in last year and this year, 2024 and 25, there's been a real paradigm shift in the tools that are being used at FamilySearch. And there's been a big movement towards AI tools. And AI isn't really new at FamilySearch. We've had it a long time, because if you look at this list of things that we have at FamilySearch that are all AI centered, you can see that it's really the program FamilySearch. Find and search and looking for duplicates and hints and the creation of charts and relationship diagrams and on and on. These are all AI activities or features. And so without AI, FamilySearch wouldn't be able to operate, nor would any of the other major genealogy programs out online. Okay, FamilySearch is now moving into the what I call AI 21st century. And we're seeing where things are becoming more automated. We're finding that the computers can recognize patterns for us better and help us to pull out information that we need, and even developing a family history sense so that the computer can start to help us in putting together our family history. Some of these far-reaching changes that have recently been introduced are things like Get Involved, which is replacing this month indexing. We're going to find indexing getting retired in the very, very near future, and just days away. And Get Involved with all of its AI features will be taking its place. And instead of doing the heavy lifting, we're going to be doing the verification operation. Let the computer do the heavy lifting. Same thing with full text search. Instead of looking at just or being able to search just things that FamilySearch put together for us, we're now able to start looking at every word in documents. And this has opened up doors to finding all kinds of things that we couldn't find before. And FamilySearch is turning to chatbots, which is a question and answer format where AI listens to our question and then provides us with the answers. And they're starting to introduce chatbots into FamilySearch, and you'll see that tonight. Okay, there are challenges. You do have to worry about data privacy with AI because AI doesn't have a moral compass like people do. There's a need for accurate algorithms, but over time, it'll get better and better. And as I've mentioned before already here, the interpreting of historical context is sometimes a little lacking in AI, but as time goes on, I think we're going to find that it'll get a pretty good genealogical sense and be able to function very much like we would as we do our research. Okay, so let's introduce the research assistant. What is it? Well, FamilySearch says the AI research assistant will first search your tree and find people to add. That's one feature that it can do. It can find sources about a person on your tree from the web. It can provide answers to your genealogical questions and suggest additional resources where you might find more information. These are the four main things that this research assistant will do for you. Now, it's not here to replace you. That's the main thing to understand. Okay, the goal here isn't to replace you, but to assist you. That's why it's called a research assistant. And then hopefully it'll help speed up your research and provide you with a comprehensive search with just one click of the mouse button, and also help you locate sources at sites that you might not even know about. And so the way I like to look at it is you're still the driver of the car. The only difference is now you've been given a bigger and faster car to use. Limitations. Now I love this because on every page of the Research Assistant, they put a disclaimer out. It says AI can make mistakes. Please double check responses. I guess they could put that on our foreheads too, because we're pretty good at making mistakes and need to double check our responses. AI is not any better than we are, but truly, it does not always get things right. You need to double check everything it provides you just to be sure. The tool has these kinds of limitations. It's still learning, and it will get better with time. It can't search behind paywalls, so it is limited, like it can't go into Ancestry and look at the records there. because they're behind a paywall. It is very literal. It has a weakness. It believes in spelling and dates and places, and if what you give it is different from what it sees, it will consider there's a difference, a different person or a different event, and not the same person, just spelled two different ways. It can also only search where it's been taught, but over time, I'm sure that they will teach it more and more places to go looking. And finally, we have to realize no matter how smart we may think this program is, it really isn't smarter than a human. Humans have the ability to reason and think in ways that the computer can't do. Okay, so let's see what AI Research Assistant is. Like I've said before, it's made up of two separate products. Okay, the first product is designed to guide you to a pre-selected place in your tree where a new family member can be found or can be added, might be a better way to say it. This is a feature where you don't guide anything. It tells you we're going to go here or there, because at those places I have found a source that can be added that should add a new person. You've got to be careful because the way AI looks at things, often it'll think there's a new person when it really is a duplicate of somebody already there. So that's kind of a disclaimer there. The second product is one that you drive. It's designed for you that when you're on a person's page in the tree, you can ask questions about this person, and the chatbot will respond to your questions with answers and help you in researching the person. And you do have to be aware of one of the big flaws I'm seeing right now is that if there's already birth, marriage, or death information on this person in tree and you ask about, let's say, the person's birth, it's basically going to feed you back most of the time what it says in tree for that person's birth. It's not going to go out and look beyond that to see if there's something better, and many times. And so you're going to have to be aware of that. That's kind of a pitfall we've got to try to work around. I'm sure they're going to improve the program to where it will address this issue. Okay, so product one looks like this. And after you've activated the program, which means you've gone into the home page to FamilySearch Labs and found the AI Research Assistant experiment inside the lab and clicked on it and opened it up and said, let's turn it on. This will be placed on your home page. This is the AI Assistant program that we call Product One. And what it does is it randomly finds 5 people in your tree that are related to you that have a family member that can be added to them. At least the system thinks it's found a family member to add. It'll either be a child of this person, a spouse of this person, or parents for this person. And it basically is found by finding hints that have these extra people that can be added found in the hints. And you're going to be taken to the person's page. And if you like this hint, you'll go to Source Linker and add the information into the tree through the Source Linker. And this should generate a new person if a new person's needed. Just be careful. You need to ask questions of yourself, beginning even with, is the person being talked about in the hint really the person in your tree that they're linking it to? And then the people that they're saying are new people, are they truly new, or can you see them in the tree already? And these recommendations, these 5 recommendations that they put up there will only go away if you either use Source Linker to source that hint that generated this, or you dismiss the hint. If you don't do anything, these people are never going to change. You're going to have these same 5 hints forever. Product 2 you'll find when you're on a person page. In this case, my great-great-grandfather. And if the program has been turned on, you're going to see this green bar across there. And if you click open, a sidebar will open up. And this is sidebar I placed down below there on the web page. It will actually be to the right of the information that you're seeing there. And in this sidebar, you get to choose questions. You can pick pre-selected questions that they've generated for you, or you can make your own questions up. That essentially you're going to ask a question and the program will respond to you with an answer. Cautions, like I've mentioned about the birth, marriage, and death information, if it's already in the person's record, you'll have some problems there. And there are a couple of things that we'll point out at the end. There's a what was it like question that gives very good answers. And also you can click on help me find genealogy information. That's another link that's on this page, and get some real good feedback. And we'll show you that. Okay, this product does go out and search the web. It doesn't just stay at FamilySearch. It has a few favorite sites right now. I'm sure over time more will be added. Right now they've got Jenny.com and WikiTree and a few other main sites that pop up, plus just a general search of the web for your person. But always remember to double check anything it gives you. Okay. Now, features of AI Assistant. Let's try it out. We'll start out with product number 1. And to get there, I'll show you step by step. On your home page, you'll find FamilySearch Labs in the right-hand column. Click View Experiments. Look in the experiments and find this one that says Grow Your Tree with AI Research Assistant. Click Try It. This page comes up, which is the introduction page to the program. After you've read over the introduction information, go ahead and click Start Experiment. And when you do, the box that you see here will be put up at the top of your home page. And so let's take one of these hints and see what you're supposed to do. So it says here that there's a possible child for Mary Margaret Mather. So we'll click on it and it takes us over to Mary's page, person page in Tree. And her family looks like this right now. She's got a husband, David Barr. They were married in 1872 in Wisconsin, and we have no children for them. And AI Research Assistant says, well, there's a source in Iowa deaths. And by the way, the family moved to Iowa from Wisconsin, so it makes sense. It says in Iowa death records, there's a Marshall Barr who's listed as a child of Mary Margaret Mather in its source data. Oh, that sounds interesting. So we'll click on that little source, and this is the transcription of the record. And this will give us enough information to kind of evaluate whether this is a good source or not. And it says that the father's name is David Barr, the mother's name is Mary Mather, and that's close enough for me to feel like this is very good, knowing that this family moved to Iowa. And so what we can do is go ahead and click, to use Source Linker and attach this child to the family. Okay, so I added Marshall. Then I went looking for duplicates. And this is one of the big things you've got to do is always search for duplicates. And lo and behold, I actually found one. It was a duplicate that had a marriage for him to this Anna Eunice Alexander. But because the Marshall Barr that was in that family didn't have any birth or death information, it didn't show up as an automatic duplicate. But I was able to identify, because it was in the right part of Iowa, this had to be our Marshall Barr. And so I was able to do some merging and bring this family together. And while I was playing around with it, because I'm one of these people that has to try to get full dates and places for people, I stumbled across a really sad story here that Anna in 1931 was accidentally shot herself. It wasn't a suicide, it was an accidental death. She was washing dishes in the kitchen and she looked out the window onto the porch and saw that Marshall had set his gun down on the table and gone off. He had been out shooting squirrels in the backyard. And so instead of putting down whatever dishes she was holding and the dish rag and all, she walked out there holding a bunch of stuff and picked up the gun and apparently misjuggled it or something and accidentally pulled the trigger and shot herself and died within about 30 minutes. Really a sad story. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I just thought I'd bring that up. You never know what you're going to find when you start double checking on people in a tree. Okay, here's another one that I clicked on, Thomas Official. And this shows you on his home page or his person page that he's married to Mahala Fishel. Probably that's their married name. They have at least 5 children. And we have found a AI research assistant found a possible spouse. Okay, now remember, AI doesn't always get things correct. Well, in this case, it says here that their possible duplicate is a Mahala A Fishel. So see, the only difference is the A in the name. And it's trying to tell me that this is a totally different person. Well, it's from the 1930 census. I looked at it, and the Mahala A Fishel has essentially the same birth year, same state, and she fits in the family just perfect. It's really nothing but another example of her showing up in records. So rather than disregard it entirely, we'll disregard it as a new person, but we will go ahead and source it and attach Mahala A to Mahala and probably add the A to Mahala's name. So the primary record now says Mahala A. Okay, another one that came up was Benjamin Taylor Ewing, and it says there was a child. And I didn't bring up the family group on this, but here's the possible duplicate or possible new person. It says there's a Lucy A listed as a child of Benjamin Taylor Ewing in death records in Kentucky where this family lived. And I did notice as I looked at Benjamin's records that he often goes by the middle name Taylor rather than Benjamin, and that he was born in Pendleton County, Kentucky, and that's where he lived, and that's where this child who died in 1912 died, was in Pendleton County. And so I looked at the transcription that they gave, which I thought was kind of a slight transcription for a death certificate. You can see that it's a death certificate because it's right there. It just basically said that Lucy A was the daughter of Taylor Ewing, and she died in 1912 in Pendleton County. Well, when I went and looked at the actual certificate, the certificate actually has her full birth date and the fact that she died in Pendleton County, and it gives her full death date. Her father was listed as Taylor Ewing. The mother is unknown, which gives me a hint that mom must have died young. This woman was single, even though she lived to be 70 something. And so she was still going by her maiden name. And the informant was a B.T. Ewing. Well, she has a brother that's alive in 1912, Benjamin Todd Ewing. And so that's yet another factor to say that this woman belongs in this family. So the conclusion was add her in. That was a good hint. Another one was Lydia Ann Pearson. And this one turned out to be a false hint. And this is a good example of how this program can get led astray easily. It said there was a possible spouse, Ara Runnell. And at first place, Ara Runnell sounds kind of like a strange name. So when I looked at the transcription, everything seemed to point to this family because Lydia Pearson is the mother, and it says that Ara Runnell is the father. But if you look and put Aaron Bonnell with Ara Runnell close together, you can see where it's a possible transcription problem. And this was a pain to try to check out, and it turned out it was a transcription problem because this is one of those collections where the pictures aren't matched up with the transcriptions. And you have to go looking page by page through the images, and I hated that. But I eventually just went ahead and sourced it and marked the R.O. Runnell as Aaron Bonnell, and then made a note saying, there's a problem here with the transcription. Okay, another one, Emma Jane Bailey, and I show her, and Tree is married to a William H. Bosser. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. I'll say Bosser. And there's 5 children. And the system came up and said there's a new possible husband, J.R. Bortner. I thought that's interesting because she has 5 children by Bosser. And this is talking about a child, Austin Bosser, is born in 1902. Well, Austin's right there on the family group. He's the last child. It says, though, that his father's J.R. Bortner, and the mother is Emma J. Bosser, or Emma Jane Bailey, if you go by her maiden name. What is going on here? This, again, would be a situation where I needed to figure out what was happening, and the only way to do that is to look at the original record. Now, I'm a Bortner researcher. I've never seen a family with a J.R. Bortner married to an Emma Jane Bailey, so that really made me curious. I went looking and had to do the same thing of digging through images till I got the right one. In this case, they were county records and they were one-line registers. This is what they used before birth, marriage, and death certificates. And what happened here is something that I've seen 3 or 4 times in my research, where one line inside this red box is for a birth of a Mildred Bortner, and the other line, the second line, is information for Austin Besser or Bosser. And what happened is the front page is okay. The fathers are marked up right with the correct child. And then the second page, for some reason, they switched and put the mother for Austin up on Mildred's line and Mildred's mother down on Austin's line. And when they transcribed it, they did it even totally different from that. And so it's just a mess. The record is correct the way it is. It was William H. Bosser and Emily Bosser, who were the parents of Austin. I cannot fix this record because there is no edit button. The only thing I could do is just dismiss the match for now so that it doesn't show up, and just leave it at that until we can figure out a better way to fix the problem. Okay, now that's the ones where the program says, here's where you're going. Now let's talk about when we're doing research, what can we do? So here's an example. We're on Glenn Lloyd Smith. AI Research Assistant's been turned on, so I can click open. And when I do that, I get the sidebar where I can start interacting with the chat bot, essentially, by asking it questions and letting it give me answers. Okay, so here's Glenn Lloyd Smith, married to Ruby Fern Perry, and they have one child showing Glenn. And so I wondered if there was more children. They were married in 1913. They have a child showing from 1916. Are there any other kids? So I clicked on the AI assistant and said, open it. And I picked the question, who were Glenn Lloyd Smith's children? And I said, search. I timed it, 11 seconds. And it says, hey, there's a Dale Frederick Smith, who is also a child, born on the 9th of January, 1914, which would be, not quite 9 months after they were married, but enough that they definitely were married. And so, yeah, it looked good. I just wondered now, are these two boys, Glenn and Dale, really dead? They should be, because we're on that 110-year window. It's always kind of nice to know. I couldn't find anything at FamilySearch, so I did my favorite solution, which is to jump over to Ancestry real quick and run a real quick little look for death information on these two boys. And I guarantee you, within 2 minutes, I found death certificates for both of them. And so I knew that they were dead. So I could go ahead, add this child in, and then do a source from Ancestry over and put death information in for him and also do it for Glenn. And we'll have two boys that are now very well identified. Okay, who did Mary Drum marry? I've got this Mary Drum in this family of Thomas and Minnie, and it doesn't show any marriage. And I kind of wondered if she was married. So I opened up AI and said, who was Mary Drum married to? And it says, well, they had a son, Dale Drum, according to the 1940 and 50 censuses. And Mary E. Drum is listed as married to Harry C. Drum. And that kind of made me wonder because, I mean, it is possible that a drum would marry a drum. But when you're talking about censuses, the woman's last name is almost always the married name. And you would assume Mary probably married somebody that wasn't a drum. So her last name would be something else. So that kind of had some red flags for me right there. So I thought I'd do a little more looking by looking at the parents to see if I could find something about them that tells me about Mary. And sure enough, when I was looking at Minnie Henderson, the mother, I found at FamilySearch Minnie's obituary. And in it, she names Mary, her daughter, as Mrs. Mary Harmon. And also at FamilySearch, there's a 1916 Noble, Oklahoma, which is where this family had moved, marriage license for Mary Drum and a Fred P.M. Harmon. So she's clearly Mrs. Fred Harmon, not Mrs. Harry C. Drum. So they had found a wrong person. So that was definitely a very bad match. So I say you've got to verify things. Okay, Anna Ewing's birth date. I was over on Anna, and all we have for a birth is a year, 1848 in Pendleton, Kentucky. So I asked, when was Anna born? And it says she was born on the 1st of January, 1850, and that's from Find a Grave. And the Find a Grave Memorial had no documents attached to it. So there's really no documentation other than Find a Grave. But if we accept that as reasonable, we can go ahead with that and change her information over to the 1st of January and attach the Find a Grave Memorial as a source to her. So that was a good job there. Now, there are these two special features I want to show you here at the end. One of them is a thing called All Sources. And when you do a search with this second product, and it has some sources, like we're looking for a death date for Ewing Smoot, and it gives me some death information. It says one source, and it's from Find a Grave, our good old Find a Grave again. But there's also this little button that pops up that said, all sources. In other words, there's more sources. It only used the one to answer my question. So I clicked on that and I see a whole list. Now, there's also a copy all sources where I can make a copy of all these, have a physical copy or make it into a digital copy and attach it into some digital software that I have. But the thing is, it gives me two groupings of sources. One of them are web sources, and several of them are for Find a Grave, because if you might have a Ewing Smoot Find a Grave memorial, and then his father's memorial might mention him, his mother's might mention him, and his brothers might mention him. And so there'll be several references to Ewing Smoot that are all different Find a Grave things. So there's those. There was also two WikiTree articles, one on his mother and one on his brother, which mention him. There was also a county history of his father, and there's a land survey that he's involved in. So you've got all those sources that pop up for you that you don't have to go looking for or think about. And some of those are things you might not have even considered looking for. And then in addition, there are 4 FamilySearch sources. Now, if you look closely at his record, it says he has 2 sources attached. Well, of these 4 sources, only one of them is attached to Ewing Smoot. And the other 3 are sitting there right there for you, ready to be added. And it's possible that they could be over there under research help if you notice that there's some research hints already showing on his record. But the thing is, this allowed us to generate a whole list of sources with one click under all sources. Now, the other one is, what was it like kind of questions. When you're on a person's page, and this is my grandfather who died in a mine accident in December of 1918, I can go over there and ask, what was it like kind of questions. So I tried one, and I wasn't thinking very carefully about it, and I just worded it, how dangerous was mining in the United States in the period of 1900 to 1920? I actually know the answer. 10% of the miners died in any given year. It was filthy dangerous. That's all there was to it. The answer comes back, I'm sorry, I can't answer questions about that, but I'd be happy to help you if you'd ask genealogy questions. See, I forgot I needed to bring Joseph Craig Givens into the question. And so well, that was a bad one. So I went up and I tried the one that they feed you, which is, what would it be like when Joseph Craig Givens was alive? And it came back with such an extensive answer in this little long, narrow column that I had to put it over in a Word doc so you could see it. And it gave some very nice information. It pulled a lot of data off of his person page, added in a little bit about mining, a little bit about family life, health and social issues, because the Spanish flu was at its peak at that point. It gave some sources, and actually it was very well done. I thought it was very well done for something that was AI generated. Now I tried again with another question. This time I did it a little better. I said, what was life like for Joseph Craig Givens in Oatman, Arizona in 1918? That's the town that he was killed in. And this time they provided me with a little information, most of it from my grandfather's person page and the data and sources that were there. But they did recognize that Oatman was a mining camp and that sort of thing. And the mining industry was dangerous and all of that. And that they pulled up 4 sources. And so it just does work, and it helps you have a chance to get a little more biographical background on people, or if you're not good at writing things, you might be able to get a little summary capsule of what the person's life was like using this tool. Okay, and then in addition, I clicked on all sources, and it gave me a whole bunch of sources for that little article. A couple of them were things that weren't sourced to him in FamilySearch already. Okay, So that pretty much covers what we were going to talk about today. Before we wrap it up, I just want to remind you that we do have a YouTube channel. It's called Fresno North State Family Search Center Trainings. If you like this training, you'd like to hear more, we have over 80, I think it's more like about 86 now, videos that are listed there. And you can find this channel easy by just Googling family or Fresno North State, and that'll probably get you enough information to bring you to this channel. If you go and subscribe to us, every time we post a video, you will get a message that one has been posted. That's the easiest way to be able to know when we're posting new things. So we appreciate your marking likes and things like that, anything that helps us to get the word out so that more people can benefit from this. Okay, in conclusion, really try out Research Assistant. We really encourage you to do it. I'd say that it's a B plus product right now and heading to A. It'll get better as time goes on. Always remember, though, to verify your results. Then you can trust what you've got. Don't trust until you've verified. And if you see anything that you're unhappy with or something you don't think is working right, give them feedback. The engineers will look at your feedback and will listen to you and use it to the best of their ability to make the product better. But we hope you enjoyed this, and we'll be seeing you soon. So have a good evening or afternoon or day, whatever it might be, and we'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks.